there, this is episode 81 of the first 10 minutes. I'm Tony Parmenter.
I'm Steve Halliwell.
And I'm Aaron Williams.
And this is a video games podcast where we play the first 10 minutes of a video game. Then we sit down here to discuss how well that game communicates itself to the player, both in terms of what the game is about and how to play the game. And in response to our latest listener poll, which you can find at the first 10 minutes on Twitter, you, the listeners, voted for us to play Vanquish. Steve, you played Vanquish. How did it go?
I did play Vanquish. And before we jump in, if we sound different, we are attempting to record this no longer co-located.
Yes.
Fates have conspired, and we're trying to actually record in 3 separate locations. So I'm going to lift
Just
my...
like the McElroys.
Yeah. They
three undisclosed locations across the globe.
Yeah, for your safety and ours.
But really just in metropolitan Brisbane, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, still in Queensland.
So depending on how loud trains are, you may get some background rumble.
Nice. Ambience.
Etc. Yeah.
Depending on how loud my cat is, you may get some meowing.
It'll be like you're here with us. So I played Vanquish. So let's jump into some data. I love that data. So
Data's
Vanquish
good.
is a third-person shooter video game developed by PlatinumGames and published by Sega for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 video game consoles. Wikipedia also decides that I need to know that this game began production in 2007 and was released worldwide in October of 2010. You may notice that those are old dates in the past. Vanquish was then released on PC in May of 2017.
Nice.
Some other data for you. It is just
I can feel the knowledge oozing out of this.
Yeah, you can just feel yourself assimilating. The designer is Shinji Mikami, and it is defined as a third-person shooter. All right, so Steam tags, the bits that matter.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is a action, sci-fi, third-person shooter, single-player shooter, fast-paced, third-person, arcade, futuristic, great soundtrack, bullet time, classic, adventure.
Classic.
It's classic.
I love it.
I'm bemoaning the lack of Kickstarter in these last couple of titles we've done.
Well, I can work on that. Okay, so Vanquish is the name of the game. Vanquish is what the voice says when I hit the menu, and for the purpose of completeness, Vanquish is defined as defeat thoroughly.
It's not just a little bit of defeat.
It's a thorough defeating.
So is this what we're doing now with single word title video games or games for which the title is a phrase? We're gonna go and get the dictionary definition. Hit up Merriam-Webster.
I think for a single word that's as peculiar as Vanquish, a definition is merited.
Yeah. Well, when Wikipedia and Steam tags aren't enough, you have to delve into the dictionary.
Yeah.
So.
Where else do you turn but to Miriam?
It is a book of words, sir.
Yeah. All right.
So the first 10 minutes of Vanquish, yay!
Yeah, I think the best way to talk about this is for me to jump kind of to the end of my notes and talk about the things that Vanquish is.
All right.
And sort of then look back at, but what did it do? So...
Well, there's some train.
Yeah, there is. You probably hear a little bit rumbling in the background. So, what is Vanquish? Other than that mess of Steam clouds that kind of give you an inkling there, I guess. It's a cover-based shooter, right? Like, it's a Gears of War, or a Kill Switch, if you will. It's far closer to Kill Switch than it is to Gears of War. And one of the things that people really enjoyed about it when it came out, other than it being made by Shinji Mikami and we all want to play all of his stuff, is that it was quite a contrast to what Gears of War was doing. And Gears of War is very slow, it's very plodding. It has a reputation for every enemy being a bullet sponge.
Yeah.
And sort of the gimmick that Gears of War had was its active reloading. So it meant that there was something for you to be doing even when you were sitting in cover waiting for a gun to reload. There was a thing you needed to do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Vanquish looks at those same set of mechanics and goes, okay, third person, you get in cover, you shoot around corners and hit headshots so that things blow up real good.
Yep.
But it's much more focused around being an arcade style game. So things die faster, you move quicker, there's more things on screen happening at any one point. And its gimmick, other than it being quicker than you would expect from something like Gears of War, is slow-mo. So in Vanquish, when you're about to either die or when you're running out of health, whenever you want to, for certain button combinations, you can go into basically bullet time.
Right.
And you can see bullets or missiles coming at you that you can use to then dodge those or shoot those out of the air, or to fine-tune your aim to land headshots better than you would otherwise. And so slow-mo on its own is cool. The other thing that you get out of Vanquish that you've probably seen or heard about from its coverage is that you rocket slide around the place quite a lot. So unlike your slow-plodding muscle linebacker man from Gears of War, you're a mech man, and you have rockets in your legs and on your back.
Okay, so you're Astro Boy.
Yeah, or Iron Man.
Bombs away.
Like that. Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Steve?
Please do. Please jump in whenever.
Okay, so you're contrasting this and sort of making comparisons to Gears of War here. Was this game a response to Gears of War? Was this going cover-based shooters are a thing, but let's do something different because they've already got that territory sort of pegged out? So what else can we do? Like, how does the history of this work?
If I recall correctly, this was Shinji Mikami looking at how a Japanese developer would make a third-person cover-based shooter.
Right.
It began development in 2007 and completed in 2010 is what our Wikipedia tells us. So 2007 would have been, if I'm not mistaken, pretty recently after Gears of War would have been released, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
2006.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
So it would have kicked off after that had come out and had ushered in an unfortunate torrent of third-person cover-based shooters. This one kind of stood out a bit.
That's the collective noun for cover-based shooters.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate torrent.
Yeah. It has to be the unfortunate.
Nice.
So
just one other thing.
Yep.
Because when people say to me Gears of War, I think, oh God, we're drowning in browns and greys forever now. Thank you, next gen. How does this game look?
That's a good point. That is another point of contrast for it here. It looks sci-fi. Everything looks like it's made out of silver or chrome.
Shiny silver.
Yeah, it's a game that came out on 360 in 2010, so things aren't normally truly reflective, but it's meant to look like they're clean. That sort of more contemporary Star Trek cleanliness. Like there are a lot of flat surfaces that look like they've been buffed, but they're kind of matte.
Right.
There's also a lot of... It's very mecha in that almost everything looks like it's made out of panels that move and overlap over each other.
Right.
They sort of animate in and build things and animate out when they go back into the floor or back into a wall.
It's kind of like Portal 2 with the walls moving around and shit.
Similar sort of setup to that, but everything's much smaller, so it's much more anime mecha. So if you've seen Ghost in a Shell standalone complex, that kind of like they're little bits of mechanical stuff that's sort of overlapping each other.
Okay, so if we're talking sci-fi kind of look, then are we also talking orange and teal everywhere, or is it some
no?
other
It's
sort of palette?
There's very little teal,
Right.
and very little orange that's straight there. It does have a sort of a bluey green wash over most of the environment. It has accents of yellow and orange, but rarely. There's far more red than there is orange.
Okay.
So the enemy forces are primarily red.
Right.
And you are primarily silver with blue highlights.
Okay. So a little bit more of a sterile kind of look.
A little bit.
Right.
Things also look like they're built tough. So it looks like you have bits that are sculpted metal on your character and in the environment, mixed with what looks like rubberized or Kevlar or maybe carbon fiber.
Cool.
So, yeah, it doesn't look like Gears of War, no.
Yeah, not the gritty, dirty, grimy sort of vibe.
No, there are areas later in the game where things are sort of blown apart, where there's rubble and destroyed concrete. But this starting area is a training room that's very clean.
Okay, cool.
So, with that out of the way that Vanquish actually starts when I hit new game is, excuse me, as it introduces me to my character very quickly. There's a tooltip snippet that I can't possibly read because I'm playing on PC, so this loads faster than I can process the loading screen, which is always annoying.
Right.
So he's sort of getting his suit assembled, Iron Man style, by large robot arms. And the camera sort of spinning around, hero shot style.
Right.
And
So
then
this is
a
like
visor.
Batman suiting up kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of.
Right.
And then I get like a close-up as a visor animates in over my face, kind of in a Guardians of the Galaxy style kind of way.
Nice.
Oh, like Star-Lord's helmet?
Yeah, kind of. Like bits sort of slide out from behind and cover his face.
Yeah, cool.
I learned very quickly that I am Sam because the lady on presumably my visor's telecom tells me that I am Sam by saying, "Hello, Sam."
You are
Sean
Yeah.
Penn. Yeah, nice. Very good.
Yeah.
Her name is...
How many Beatles references happened in the first 10 minutes?
None that I picked up. There are plenty of other references. Her name is Elena. I can tell this because beside her portrait that's talking to me, it says Elena. So this is sort of a calibration of my suit setup is what this scenario is giving me.
Right.
So Elena is going to give me the normal orientation stuff. She tells me how to move the camera. I get you rotate the camera with the mouse cursor. And it sort of slides. She says, I'm going to give you some targets to look at. Just look at each of them and let me know when you're done, kind of thing. So these things animate out from the wall in front of me. I can't move yet. I can only move the camera. And then move to different quadrants of the screen, basically. A little bit off screen for some of them. As I move my head around, like I get a UI element overlaying them, like not quite like a Terminator style visor thing happening, but it's identifying targets for me.
Okay.
So you put your cursor over them, they flash away once you've done it to all of them. She says, everything seems good. If it seems backwards, let me know and I'll adjust your optical nerve sensors. I'm like,
wow.
Okay, that's a fair enough Halo substitute for, hey, do you want me to invert? But I appreciate that you said, if it seems backwards, let me know. Not if you
And then they
prefer
flip the x-axis.
Yeah. So she tells me that she'll adjust my optical nerve sensors, but then a pop-up just comes up on screen that I have to confirm. Curiously named Inquiry. All these pop-up boxes are called inquiries.
Right.
I don't know why. And it says, you can change your camera control settings by selecting options in the pause menu. So
that's nice.
Dropping that optical nerve sensors charade rather quickly. Sam, my character, makes a remark along the lines of, this is a real pain in the ass, about having to configure and go through all these testing. This is the point at which I realize my sensitivity is way too high, so I go into the menus and lower it a whole bunch. When I come back out of the menus, a new character is talking to me in my telecom visor, a professor
and
of
they
some
affect
sort.
you in no way emotionally anymore because your sensitivity is way down.
Yeah, it's way down.
Yeah.
Just nice. Very good.
So this professor is following on from the conversation that I changed sensitivity in the middle of. He says, it's important. He says, just because you can read a manual doesn't mean that you know what you're doing, which I found super interesting as a line that's being delivered to me during a tutorial that is going to make sure I know what all the buttons do, but not that I know how to play this game.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Like, not in a Blood Dragon way. Like, it's not making fun of itself.
Right.
This doesn't come off that way.
It is odd that the character's already complained about being in a tutorial, kind of.
Well, I think what they were going for here is Sam going, man, all this calibration is crap. Can we speed it along?
Right.
And they're like, yes, we can. Let's get to the good bit. Did you know that you use WAS to move around? So I guess WAS to move. Yep, got it. I couldn't press these buttons before, so that Well, I get it. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but when parts of the controller just don't respond, well, in this case, keyboard and mouse, but when parts of the controller don't respond at all, it always feels weird in a tutorial, especially when it's so clearly a third-person character controller. And
it is odd. I mean, I kind of feel bad always coming back to Half-Life 2, but, you know, that game just made its point in terms of here are some buttons, and then just gets the fuck out of your way and lets you get on with what you're doing.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So it does seem a bit weird. I mean, we've talked about this a number of times before. How do you strike that balance between people who are familiar with the genre or play a lot of games versus people who are perhaps newcomers? But at the very least, you'd think that allowing people to experiment and sort of learn by doing, because you can still box them in and not let them progress out of the starting areas. So,
and that's where I am. I'm in a training room. It's a round room that's about 10 meters radius, and there's nothing in here.
Yeah, it's not like you can run away from that area.
Yeah, and I get the idea. Like, we've talked about it before in terms of highlighting or hiding or graying out parts of the UI in a more complex game like a Civ or something.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense, because otherwise you're overwhelmed with options, or you don't know what they want you to draw your attention to first.
Yeah.
Here it just feels really weird that I push on the left. I would theoretically have been pushing on the left stick earlier and nothing would have happened. I don't know. It always feels odd, and I don't know if there is actually a return on investment for doing that in terms of players learning what you want them to any faster. So the only thing that's different, the next thing I get is different. It says spaced is to evade, which, if you're looking at this as a Gears of War clone, that is the same on PC. So space is basically, in Gears of War, would be a dodge roll kind of thing. Here,
so it's space evaders. Nice.
Yeah. And here it's the same thing. It's a commando leap in a direction. It tumbles and stands up again. Cool. The next thing it wants me to learn is that E is to get into cover. Okay. It's a cover-based shooter. It's a snap to cover-based shooter. You walk up to it, you press E, and the character puts their back against it. Mm-hmm. It also now forces me to learn that W plus E will vault over cover.
That feels weird to think about.
Yeah, that's kind of odd.
Yeah, and when I did it, I fucked it up like 3 times in a row. I kept getting out of cover instead of vaulting over it. I don't know if that's because I need to be like W then E. I was hitting them out of sync. I honestly, at this point, couldn't even tell you what the key combination is to vault over cover in another third-person cover-based shooter. I would just do it without thinking about it.
I mean, if you think about it, it's probably intended primarily to be played with a controller, and that would be pressing up on the joystick and A, which is something that I can definitely imagine executing.
Yeah.
But 2 specific keyboard keys is strange.
It feels like horrible Batman face button combos to me. I don't like it.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's 2 button presses. It's not 1 button push and 1 button press.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're considering the sort of claw grip that you have on a controller, it feels very different to push something down with a thumb as opposed to pull with a finger on a trigger or a shoulder button or something like that. So I
definitely.
I mean, I know you guys probably think I'm crazy that I will always prefer to play with a controller even if I'm on PC. But I just like the differentiation between the analog stick and the way they operate, the face buttons and the way they operate, the shoulder buttons and the triggers and the way they operate. They all feel different, and I think that makes it easier for my brain to use combinations of different things because it feels like you're pressing different types of button, and that just makes more sense to me. So,
Yep. I totally get that. For me personally, if there's a game that wants me to have fine grain aiming, then I would much rather have a mouse than a joystick, though.
Yeah.
So for this game, I would much rather be using a mouse and keyboard.
Right. Cool.
For me, the next thing it teaches me is that shift is to boost. So this is the first time I see something that's different, really. Shift to boost is not just a roadie run or a hustle. Shift to boost engages essentially my like rocket slide.
Cool.
So the character essentially looks like they're going like sliding into home base, like a baseball player.
Okay.
So they have that one leg in front of them, their arm behind them, sparks are flying out from under them because it's metal grinding on metal. And there's jets behind their legs, and there's a jet in their back firing. And the camera squishes down a whole bunch. The FOV kicks, and I move. It looks like I move. Like I'm moving quickly. I can cover distance.
Right.
And so this is one of my main mobility things. I don't really have a good inkling yet what it's for. What they get me to do here is to do a ring around the outside of the level. They put essentially like glowing waypoints that I need to go between in this ring.
Okay.
And what they're getting me to learn here is not only how I boost and how it controls, in that it goes the direction that I'm aiming, but you can also still strafe in this mode.
Right.
So it'll go wherever you're aiming, so you can just flick the mouse around to go wherever you want. You can also still veer left and right by strafing. The thing that it wants me to learn here, though, is that I can't boost forever.
Right.
So in Vanquish, I have essentially like a battery, which when it overheats, I have to wait for it to refill, and during that time, I can't use my boosts. I can't use slow-mo.
Okay.
And
this is a weirdly specific thing for me to bring up because I really haven't played the game very much for quite a long time, but I keep getting Lucio from Overwatch in my head.
I mean, I'm not running around walls.
Right.
I'm on the ground doing this.
I don't know, maybe it's just got something to do with that kind of fluid motion and then boosting and not boosting and having speed ups and slow downs. I don't know.
Yeah. I can see part of that. The thing that Vanquish wants me to learn about this is not only to get a sense of how far I can boost slide.
Right.
But also so that it can make me learn the consequence of running out of battery.
Okay.
And when you run out of battery, the characters explicitly talk about what it does. So they force me to overheat here, so I learn how far I can go. They talk about that it says it's max output, it couldn't possibly get any higher. We've already pushed it, blah, blah, blah. The glowy thing on my back gets much larger and goes yellow, and it's like it's venting yellow gas, kind of, when I'm overheating. And the character remarks that he's losing 30% mobility while it's cooling down.
30%. That's horribly specific.
Yep. Yes.
This is a known engineering fault by the sounds of it.
The professor remarks that it's well within the project's parameters.
Okay, can I just point something out here? You have rocket boots.
Yes.
You have a battery that often runs out, and there's a professor involved. You're fucking Astro Boy. This is exactly Astro Boy.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Sam Vanquish Man and Astro Boy in the same place at the same time?
I mean, I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm calling it. This is Astro Boy in disguise.
It certainly could be.
That's not a complaint, by the way.
Yeah.
I'd play Astro Boy the game.
Yeah. Surely they've done that already.
They have. It's called Vanquish.
Yeah. So after the professor talks about project guidelines, Sam derides the professor and Elena laughs. And then we get our next tutorial. I now get my tutorial menu. My tutorial menu tells me...
Then it teaches you how to use your machine gun butt.
Yes.
This is deviation from Astro Boy.
So I have learnt the camera controls, the basic controls, the movement, and my tutorial menu indicates that I have yet to learn weapons and tactics, close quarters, AR mode, which is not at all what you're thinking, and the exit tutorial tutorial.
The exit tutorial?
It's confusingly
It's easy.
named.
You just press the button.
It's in this list of the tutorials you have yet to complete, and it's just at the bottom of it. So it looks like you're going to get taught how to leave the tutorial. So what it does now is it spawns...
skip to the end.
Yeah. So now it spawns these target droids, essentially, around the room, and tells me that I need to shoot them again before I had no gun and couldn't shoot.
Okay.
Guess what? It's mouse 1.
What a surprise.
Yep. It teaches me to aim at things.
You're playing with 2 mice?
Yep.
That's weird.
Teaches me to reload with R.
Yep.
The things that this game has that may be atypical is enemies have HP bars as soon as they take damage. And there's also a bar under your reticle, which is how many bullets you have left in your clip, slowly draining.
Okay, cool.
I don't recall them explicitly telling me, but just by me shooting randomly at robots, I can tell that headshots count a lot.
Okay.
So it spawns more training robots. I shoot them for a little bit, and it tells me that there's iron sights, essentially, that I can aim properly, which is a standard sort of over-the-shoulder technique. It pushes in slightly, and it slows me right down. Which I kind of don't know if I need, but this will make sense when it gets to the next bit. Because right now it seems like, well, I could shoot just fine. I can't see that I'm actually getting an accuracy bonus from this. On console, I don't recall. This may have made it easier to aim. On PC, it doesn't necessarily make it much easier.
Right.
But it has a reason. Sam makes a remark about the recoil compensation not being as good as he wants it to be. He complains about it, and Elena replies with, "Your weapon isn't exactly stock." And Sam says, "I know." And then just says, "Changing blade modes, let's fire something different."
What a great exchange.
I know. It's quality.
So you're playing an arsehole by the sound of it.
Yes, he's one might say he might be brash, he might be overconfident. One might characterize him as American.
Man.
Which is what this game is going for.
Or as an interpretation of Americanism.
Yeah, that's totally what this game is going for.
Right.
This is also the first time I think anyone mentioned blade. Also, it is B.L.A.D.E. And I don't recall anyone telling me what that stands for.
Okay.
Basically, he has a magic thing that isn't a gun that can replicate any gun that you can scan with it. Which seems like an utterly nonsensical reason to have cool gun-changing animations. Because this thing you're holding just like collapses into itself and then rebuilds itself into a new gun.
Right.
And also, they then talk about the fact that it can only hold 3 patterns right now. They're working on it. It's also my weird conceit for why I have 3 gun slots. Whatever.
Okay.
So I like that they've made an effort to give everything some form of narrative conceit, even if they give it up like immediately.
I get it, but it's also slowing me down.
This is an exploding pen, Bond. You will need this in Act 3.
Yeah.
It
Except
will be unconventional how you use it.
Except not in Act 3. I'll need it right now, because now's the tutorial where you learn to use a different gun.
Oh, man.
Right, okay.
So, second gun, same as the previous one.
Talk about plot-driven. Jeez.
Yep. So, it teaches me how to change weapons. I changed to one of the other guns. This one fires slower, but appears to do more damage.
Right.
It also tells me that I have a shotgun, but as soon as I change to this shotgun, at the closest range I can get right now, which is about 2 meters away from a target, it doesn't kill them in one shot and only has 20 shots total. So I immediately go back to the assault rifle that has 500 rounds of ammo and is really accurate. It's very, very weird. The note that I made to myself is I never want to use this shotgun ever again. So I don't know if that's
what if you were in a really, really tight corridors with really blind corners?
Well, that's not going to happen in these 10 minutes. And outside of my 10 minutes, I have played... I finished the game on console, but on PC, I've played probably another 2 or 3 hours of it at this point. Right. And that doesn't happen. You're never that close to an enemy to need that to happen.
Do you have plagues of small, weaker enemies, so like swarms of locusts or something coming at you? Or?
Not especially.
Okay. I've exhausted my knowledge of shotguns in video games now.
Yeah.
So.
Also, I can slow-mo and just headshot everything, so it seems weird. This is the point where they want to teach me that I can pick up new weapons with my weapon scanning thing. So it spawns a different weapon, I walk up to it, I hold R, it replaces whatever weapon I currently have selected with the thing that I just scanned. So in this case, I've replaced a heavy machine gun with a disc launcher. Disc launcher is a giant circular saw crossbow. This is what I've described it as. I get a new inquiry pop-up. Changing weapons will replace the currently equipped weapon. Picking up the same type of weapon will replenish your ammunition. So that's good to know.
Cool.
How many different gradations of type of weapon are there? Do you have to get super specific to get an ammo upgrade, or is it broad category of weapon?
It's the exact same weapon. So there is an assault rifle, there is a heavy assault rifle, there's an enhanced rifle, there's a sniper rifle, and if you don't pick up the exact same weapon, it replaces the one you currently have equipped. But if you do,
how easy is it to distinguish if you have the exact same weapon as the one you're going to run over? Does this become a problem where you're constantly accidentally picking up things you don't want to pick up, or?
Outside of my 10 minutes, I have confused 2 of the heavy assault weapons because there's 2 of them. Okay. But otherwise, they're fairly unique shapes. So, like, there's only one sniper rifle, and it's very long.
Right.
The icons that you see, your weapon icons are always in the bottom right corner, and they match what you're looking at when you want to pick something up. It also tells you the name of it. So it has like an AR in world. It's a heavy machine gun. And if it was the weapon you have selected, tells you its name.
Sorry, are the shapes of weapons kind of being used as icons then? And is there color coding to go along with this? Or?
They are... see, there is color coding.
Right.
But only on the pickups. Okay. So in your HUD, they are all the same color. They are all this sort of like greeny blue transparent thing with the selected weapon being red.
Right.
But in world, a heavy machine gun is written in red, whereas a sniper rifle is written in purple.
Okay.
But you don't ever then see that in your HUD. But it does mean that you can sort of quickly scan across an environment and go, there's a purple pickup over there. Okay. So it might be a sniper rifle.
Right, okay.
Whereas it's not a red pickup, so it's not a heavy machine gun.
Cool. Sure. I mean, not if you're colorblind, but sure.
Yeah. They're essentially the secondary colors. They're all primary and secondary colors.
Okay.
I try this giant saw thing. I immediately dislike it. I hate it. They don't fly straight. They wobble left and right as they move. They feel like I'm throwing a giant paper plane.
But do they fall down? That's the important question.
Nope. They just go straight forever, but they fly like a paper plane. They weave left and right. And they
it's the jazz gun.
It's very weird. I don't like it. Also,
I'm just glad I got that reference into 3 episodes.
It also
consecutively.
Again, it only has 20 shots in it, so I also never want to use this ever again. It makes me swap to another one, which is a rocket launcher. It has 3 shots, but it does seem pretty cool. It has big explosion radius, and it blurs and shakes the screen a whole bunch when it impacts.
Okay, can I jump in with a question, Steve?
Please go.
It's thrown a number of different weapons at you, and at least 2 of them now you've said, I never want to use this again ever.
Yes.
How much of that has to do with the context of the space that you are currently in?
See, I think the potential for those weapons to ever be useful is probably much higher than this training room is giving them credit. Because the training room that I'm inside of a small ring, maybe 4 meters radius.
Right.
There's then a gap that I can't walk across, like a moat. And the enemies that it's spawning in as target practice are on the other side of this moat. So there's no cover, there's nothing in the way. I can't get any closer than about 2 meters from them. And they just stand there. Like, they're literally just there so that you can shoot them to see what the weapon does when you fire it.
Yeah.
So if there is a circumstance where the shotgun makes a whole bunch of sense, like, let's say, staying behind cover and waiting for something to approach you so you can, like, blind fire around a corner at it, which is what you'd think would be the purpose, this environment can't teach me that. This environment can only teach me that, well, when faced with an enemy that isn't firing back at you, that's at about 5 meters away, don't use a shotgun.
Right.
So yeah, it's odd.
So do you feel like this maybe would have been better suited by moving you to an environment more appropriate for the weapon that you've got equipped, or the weapon that it's trying to teach you about?
I think that would make more sense, and I think that's what more contemporary tutorials do in like one of the more recent Call of Duties. So they'll have an obstacle course set up, whether it's explicitly an obstacle course or not, where it's like, and this area is where I want you to use this rifle and also this submachine gun. Notice that the rifle can hit the faraway targets much better than the submachine gun can. Also,
or you get something. You'll get something like just trying to remember what it was. I think it was GTA 5. You know, where you go to the gun shop and you go out to the target room out the back, and depending on which challenge you're doing, it will change how the targets are moving, how they're clustering. That's specifically tailored for the strengths and weaknesses of that weapon type.
Just to give you hints of like, you're in this situation and you don't have a sniper rifle, so maybe consider going to a gun shop. Yeah, that's not happening here. It's one size fits all to make sure I know what my possibility space is, but devoid of context.
So it's just massively front-loading absolutely everything.
Yes, I've used now more than half of the weapons in the game, as I recall.
Jeez.
It now spawns in an upgrade point for me. This looks like a 0.5 by 0.5 by 0.5 meter just glowing filing cabinet is the only way I can describe it.
Nice.
So I pick it up, and it tells me that I have upgraded my rocket launcher. And the phrasing it has is upgrade lock-on acquisition speed increased, minus 25%. So I had to double take that, and I assume it means lock-on time decreased by 25%. Not...
Yeah, see, if it had just said lock-on time decreased by 25%, I wouldn't be confused.
Yes, as opposed to lock-on acquisition speed increased minus 25%.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
I feel like I'd like to raise an inquiry about that inquiry.
Yep.
Well, lock-on speed 25% faster, like trying not to use too many double negatives.
It looks like the problem here is that there's a translated sentence that needs to exist before a numeric that's going to be inserted in a string join.
Right, okay.
Sure.
Is what looks like's happening here. So, like, how do we phrase this so that the number goes at the end?
Yeah.
And that hasn't gone great.
Right, okay. Does it have any, does it have, like, bar levels or something?
No. Just tells me that's happened.
Right.
Also, I used the rocket launcher a bunch. I didn't even know it could lock on. So, because these enemies aren't behind cover and they're right in front of me. So I just shot near them and they blew the fuck up.
It's like, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah. I get an inquiry. Acquiring an upgrade, capitalized upgrade, item will upgrade, not capitalized, the current weapon via the blade, all caps but no dot points, system, and increase its effectiveness in various ways.
What are those various ways, Steve?
That's all I get. That's all I get. That's all. I'm a little
Some
confused.
things may be better in some contexts, perhaps.
Yeah. So I click OK, and I get another inquiry immediately. This inquiry says, picking up the same weapon when already carrying the maximum amount of ammunition will allow you to proceed on the upgrade path for that weapon.
Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. Cool.
So
can I? I'm going to jump in again. I want to jump in again. This feels like a chore.
It is. I'm like 7 minutes in at this point, I think.
Holy shit.
I mean, I know how much you enjoy this game, Steve. Not a review,
really
but
it's really good.
But this really does feel very cumbersome and very belabored.
It is. It's and the thing that really kicks me here is this weapon upgrade if you have max ammo. So earlier it told me, disconnected from this, if you pick up a weapon that you already have, it refills your ammo.
Yep.
It told me that earlier. Now it's telling me, if you pick up a weapon you already have and it already has max ammo, so you haven't fired it at all, it'll upgrade it instead. So that seems critical to being good at this game. And it's the second pop-up in 2 inquiries. It's just, oh, by the way, if you pick up ammo for a full ammo gun, you get, I don't know, it makes it better in various ways.
By the way, here's the optimal playing strategy, but whatever, let's move on.
Yeah, which means that this mechanic has this weird knock-on effect outside of 10 minutes, but whatever. It told me about it now. You can already see that this means I can carry 3 weapons. I'm going to always be carrying one that I like, but never use it. So that it's always at full ammo, so I can upgrade it until it's maxed upgrade, and then I will use it. And
I see what's happening here. It's better to have a gun and not need it than to need a gun and not have it.
Fucking deep.
There we go.
That's very good.
Case closed.
All right. This tutorial isn't humongously lethargic and boring now.
So, that's weird that seems really important. Sam and Elena started to have a bit more banter to reinforce their personalities if you haven't figured out what they were yet. Sam remarks, this thing's even picking up surface scratches. And Aleda says, the blade can only replicate what already exists, even the imperfections. Like, thanks, I don't care. I do not care at all. Next up, time to learn to throw grenades. You press the grenade throw button. It has a really cool animation. If you're already moving and you throw the grenade, he does like a leaping quarterback throw, which looks really cool, but is a nightmare to aim.
Well, don't spike the grenade. That's my advice.
Yeah. So you don't get your typical arc of like, this is where your grenade's going to go.
Right.
It just throws it. So you press grenade. Okay. That grenade is gone.
So it's the chaos item.
And this animation, if you're holding a direction and you throw a grenade, you end up like 2 meters from where you started. So it's like this massive leap as well that moves you in space, so you can't aim things the way you thought you could.
Right.
And in this environment I'm in, the ceiling isn't that high. I'm not in an open dome.
Oh no.
So trying to hit these drones with grenades is the hardest thing I've done so far. Because I keep hitting the ceiling and it bounces off and into this like moat that's between me and them and doing nothing. But yeah, there are regular grenades. They blow stuff up real good. You can switch to grenade type to an EMP grenade. It wants me to do that. It tells me that stuns enemies, so they stop shooting so you can shoot them. It's still going. Guess what we learn now? This game has melee attacks.
Okay.
To teach me how to melee attack.
You use a blade for that, right?
No. You use your fists for that. And the way that we test this...
Is that F.I.S.T?
Yeah, that would be great. There's a bunch of narrative around it. It reloads the environment. And the professor informs me that we have been given a wall from the military. Some new hot shitness. This is gonna be great.
Sorry, did you say a wall?
Yeah, it's a really good wall.
Like they just gave you a
they gave me one
block of concrete.
They gave me a prototype wall.
We gave you a bunch of bricks put together. Oh, get ready for this. It's
meant to be some fancy alloy thing, right?
It's like it's made of brick and morty.
Yeah. So you walk up to the wall, you hit punch. He does a cool animation, and he punches it, and his fist glows, and the wall gets a dent in it, and it glows orange. But it's not broken. And this drains your battery entirely. So you go into cooldown mode after every melee attack. And the cooldown on your battery is 6 seconds. So this tutorial here is like, we want you to know that you can punch things, but don't you ever fucking punch something.
So is this like an oh shit nuke kind of thing, or?
Presumably, they want me to know that the punch is really powerful. That's why we have secret military prototype walls to punch.
Right.
But if you do, you better be able to not get shot at for 6 seconds. Because that battery is also your health. When it runs out, you actually start taking damage, and that's when you can die. So essentially, if you think about it in like Halo terms, it's like your shield's gone. You're actually taking real damage now. So if you ever melee anything, you better make sure that you're safe.
Right.
The other thing that I learned outside of the 10 minutes is enemies have amazing melee damage. So you really don't want to melee something next to another enemy. Because you will destroy the first one.
You back.
Yeah, you'll just annihilate the first one, lose your battery, and the one next to it will just tap you lightly on the shoulder and you'll die. It's really odd. I'm not sure if this is... We expect that you expect there's a melee because Gears of War is all about chainsaw swords and we're not.
Right.
So here it is. Don't use it.
It's like the fuck you move.
It's an odd one.
I can feel producers fainting across the globe. Let's make this thing that we don't want people to use and that we will encourage them actively to not use.
All right. So I punch this wall. I punch it real good. My battery drains. I don't like it.
And you decide to never ever punch something again?
Pretty much never punch. Outside my 10 minutes, I learned to never punch things if there's anything else around.
You're like the reverse Batman.
Yeah.
I will only shoot things to death. I will never ever punch something into submission.
I swear they were all dead when I left.
There's one live robot left.
Yeah.
Who's just like, he left me alive. I don't know why.
So wait, are you saying that this game treats the first gun the way that a lot of people treat their first idea? It's like, I'm sticking with this one forever.
Pretty much. Your default weapon is pretty much the one I've used so far.
Okay.
So the next thing it wants me to learn is AR mode, which is super confusing name because AR is a thing. It's more than one thing.
Yep.
In fact, confusing enough already.
Yep. Arr.
Essentially what this... Yep. Pirate mode. So what this one does is when you're about to die, if you have battery left, it will auto-engage slow-mo. And this is the first time I've seen slow-mo.
Right.
It spawns me in a tutorial room with robots on all sides shooting at me, and all my controls are turned off until I've taken enough damage so that slow-mo turns on. So I'm just walking around slowly in the middle of a room while I'm getting pelted with bullets until the screen goes darker blue and slow-mo engages.
Evil.
But even then,
So
in my
Sam, there's
slow-mo,
just one last thing we need you to learn, Sam. Now just bear with us. Bear with us.
How to take a shitload of bullets.
how to die right. So this triggers when it triggers, the screen gets bluer. Everything slows down. The audio gets like a high pass filter, and it gets slowed down a bit as well. And a lovely little dial appears next to my reticle, which starts off green. And it swipes around red, I believe. So it tells you how long until you're back in real time again.
Right.
So it looks really cool.
I hate to be picky about this, but I'm going to go the colorblind thing again. Is there anything other than red and green that allows you to differentiate what's going on here?
If I put them through like a grayscale, one of them is probably more luminous than the other.
Is the dial and the motion of the dial enough for you to get the idea?
Assuming that they're not identical luminosity, you would understand what's happening.
Okay.
Because it's moving like a clock, so you're assuming that it's going to go back to where it started.
Sure.
In a clockwise fashion.
Okay.
So
I was originally thinking about it in terms of a fuel gauge, which would move from full to empty in a counterclockwise direction. But
no, it's it's like because it's a countdown of like how long you have left.
Right. Okay. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, that's fine. It makes sense. It's cool. It sounds cool. It looks cool. It's just weird that I have to stand there and get shot until it automatically triggers. Especially because the very next thing it wants to teach me is, by the way, you can also manually activate that. And the way that you manually activate AR is while aiming, evade. So on keyboard, this means while I have right mouse button held down, I hit space. So he'll do a commando roll, but doesn't stand up at the end of it. Instead, he's aiming his gun in slow motion, like half standing.
Okay.
This looks fucking sweet, and you can chain it together. So you can just like hold down aim, roll out of cover, shoot something, hit space again while holding right, and he'll just do another roll. If you're still aiming, it goes in and out of slow-mo in between those rolls automatically.
Oh, that sounds nice.
And it does the like that, the noises of in and out of slow-mo constantly. It's really cool. And it sucks that this is about 9 minutes into my tutorial.
Oh boy.
It teaches me here that you can totally overheat by manually using AR if your battery is still draining when you do this, and you still have the regular cooldowns and all of that stuff. At this point, I kind of messed up the tutorial a little bit because I didn't try to shoot the last enemy in slow-mo, and it's like, no, you need to defeat the enemies while in slow-mo. It gives me like a pop-up that tells me that, essentially. I'm like, geez, all right, I'll wait for my battery to refill and do it again. It also makes a point of telling me in a what the fuck are they called? I've already forgotten their weird name. Inquiries. I thought they were interrupts. That would make more sense even.
That would make a lot of sense.
The inquiry pops up and tells me.
It just says that, actually.
Yeah. That while in AR mode, I can intercept attacks such as missiles, but don't overheat. Like that's That is a cool thing that's telling me I will be able to do that I'm not doing right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
You're not yeah, like what are the odds of you retaining that info?
I mean, it's probably better than average because when you do activate slow-mo, all the bullets move really, really slow and they have a distortion trail behind them. Like they slow down far more. They don't slow down 1-to-1. They slow down far more than they should. So you'll notice them then, but telling me now then doesn't serve a purpose, really. Also, you were happy enough to just be like, in this tutorial, you get shot until you're dead. But you don't give me a tutorial that's like, and now, missiles. Manually activate AR mode and shoot them out of the sky. Like, it feels odd. It feels like someone wanted to do a cool thing there and couldn't.
It feels like it wants you to have a degree of masochism towards this. Of just like, you know, like do the shit that's real bad.
Yeah. That is the end of my tutorial. Guess what happens?
And the end of your 10 minutes?
So close.
All right.
Immediately after this tutorial ends, a cutscene starts.
Okay.
I get the Platinum Star logo. I get ominous tones. I get directed by Shinji Mikami. It's sort of giving me cuts of exteriors, so like people walking around a city, and then a park, and then I can tell that it's San Francisco because I can see the bridge, and I figure out the park is probably the Panhandle, etc. These are engine assets, but it's all pre-rendered. So it's giving me these. It starts giving me these cuts between people walking around, doing business, having a picnic in the park, and somewhere a missile silo preparing. So like doors are closing, latches are locking, spires are raising up out of the ground, lights are flashing on it. So I get
it's like the Game of Thrones opening credits. Nice.
Kind of. So I'm getting cuts back and forth between these two things.
Right.
Like, I wonder if these are related.
No, not at all.
No,
completely disconnected.
It's a trick. It's Chekhov's San Francisco. We all know about it. And so in this cutscene, in this missile silo, the camera, there's spires like raising up out of the ground, out of like a metal platform, and the camera tilts up to follow them, and you can go, oh shit, because you can see through the window the planet Earth, and that's my 10 minutes.
Oh no.
Right at planet Earth, that's your 10 minutes.
That's my 10 minutes.
Out of curiosity, Steve, how much longer does this cutscene go for?
That is an excellent question. I have actually uploaded my first 20 minutes for you to watch if you want to.
Oh, shit.
Because the tutorial is about 10 minutes, and this cutscene is the next 10 minutes, basically.
Right. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, Steve, but I'm going to. Did this feel a little bit like having to pass a spelling test to ride a roller coaster?
That might be overstating it, but yes, the sentiment's there, right? Like, there's an awful lot of things that it's making me jump through hoops to do before like even in its own tutorial, before it gets to the, oh, by the way, the reason why you're here is because there's sweet slow-mo.
Right.
Is buried 8 minutes into the tutorial that covers how to walk. It doesn't seem like it needs to be.
Well, I am feeling in a bit of a ranty mood tonight, so do you mind if I rant a little bit?
I'm fine with it, yeah.
So when you buy the latest Radiohead album, the first 3 tracks aren't teaching you how to pause and how to skip ahead and how to skip back a track. And if you go to watch a movie, the characters don't turn to camera and explain their relationships to you before the drama starts.
Well, depends what movie you're watching. But...
So
yeah,
it's
like Martin Scorsese does that really well.
Fourth wall, the movie. But I mean, you're not. I mean, I realise that the level of interactivity, bloody blah, video games are different, so on and so on. But it feels like there's an overemphasis on just in case in this game.
I totally agree, especially because outside of our 10 minutes, it pops up very large on-screen prompts for most of the things that it's just told me how to do. So like, it never stops telling me how to get into cover and out of cover. Whenever you're near cover, a giant thing at the bottom of the screen of the icon of him getting into cover with the button that you press to do it is there.
Yeah.
And similarly, like the things like changing weapons and upgrading them, and upgrading the weapon you have selected rather than it offering you menu dialogues. Those things seem clunky regardless of the tutorial.
Okay, can I put you on the spot about the cover thing? If the game tells you every time and gives you an indicator that you can enter cover, what does that actually look like? How does that work in terms of how it tells you that?
Essentially, as soon as you're inside of a trigger volume that's probably half a meter to a meter in front of a wall of any kind, there's an icon that's probably a quarter of screen height in the very bottom center.
Right.
That is almost like not the same art style, but if you imagine the way Fallout shows you what perks do, it's like a little caricature of your character facing camera as if they're leaning against a wall with like a motion arrow that starts big, presumably in the foreground, and circles towards the camera and down.
Does it give you a button indicator as well?
And then on PC, there's the giant E key next to that image.
I feel I probably already know the answer to this, Steve, but does that feel like enough?
Yeah. And it does that for other actions as well. The same like graphic iconography style information is there for changing weapons. It'll show you what weapon you have and what weapon you're going to get, and the R key next to it.
So it is the Half-Life 2 method.
Kind of.
Right.
And the same thing for opening chests. Anytime you get near a chest, it will tell you again, hey, press E to open this chest.
Okay.
There's also context-sensitive information for rolling out of cover versus just walking away from cover. So if you're pressing a direction while snapped to cover, it'll show you different icons depending on whether you're leaning forward into cover or leaning away from it. So whether they're going to like run around the corner or just run back from it.
Right, okay. Yep.
This seems like something that this tutorial problem seems like something that could have been so easily avoided. When you just consider the idea that like even in the dialogue, you've got like something, I can't remember the exact line, Steve, but something equating to Sam being bored with all of this. Like it seems like at that point, that's when the game could offer you the opportunity to skip the how to video game part and get straight on to slow motion, the thing that makes Vanquish unique and separate from the game that came out just a year ago.
Yeah. So the thing that I think might be happening here is at the time this game was released, you couldn't guarantee that enough of your audience had played one of these, especially if you were targeting Japan, because Gears is Microsoft.
Sure.
Yep.
So that might be part of it. I totally could have skipped this tutorial, but it's not the default behavior, so I didn't, because that's what we do. We do the default. But if I had, I would then have 10 minutes of cutscene. And that is almost literally... There's a small bit of interactivity in the middle of it, but it's still basically 10 minutes of cutscene. If I had skipped a tutorial, the first thing I would have done is I would have run down a corridor straight ahead while the corridor was kind of exploding and dudes were getting sucked out into space.
Okay.
As I walked towards a big door. I knee slide, like rocket slided all the way down that corridor. So for me, the first thing I actually did in the game proper is I did a cool knee slide down a corridor while suckers got sucked out into space.
Were you wailing on a guitar while you did that?
I wish I was. I need to go find a 6-string and scan it with my blade. And just serenade these commie robots to death.
You have reconstituted an A.X.E.
Yeah.
Nice.
.exe. Yeah. So the other thing I have in my notes here is I won't go through what is in that eventual cutscene. Suffice to say, there's a very Starship Troopers vibe. There's even straight lines lifted from it at certain points. There's a very typical, there's two main male characters boistering for who's tougher. They have a little fake knife fight at some point in the cutscene.
Right.
And what I did is I wrote down a summary of the next cutscene before I rewatched it.
Okay.
So here is my summary of what happened, which is wrong, because then I watched it and it was wrong.
I really want you to put backing music behind this.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so my summary of the cutscene is, after the San Francisco stuff, there's a red Russian cyborg Iron Throne looking dude who fires a red laser satellite at San Francisco. And then he threatens the world and says, "Give me the world, or I'm going to laser it again. And you can't stop me."
So either give it to me or lose it forever.
Yep. And I'll just chill up here in this satellite forever, I guess. Thanks.
Yep.
Then, fake Hillary Clinton, who was the president of the United States at the time, says, "Yep, we got to do it." Then, someone else says, "There's no way we can possibly overcome the Force. They're too well defended. The only possible way we could do this is a small tactical strike team could get in there." Now, that's all wrong. That's not what happened.
So did he actually say, "Nice planet you got there. Be a shame if something happened to it"?
He is red and Russian and a cyborg dude on an iron throne.
Okay, so my accent was inaccurate, but other than that, was I on the money?
Yeah, kind of. And it is fake Hillary Clinton, but she doesn't say, "Yes, we got to give up." She gives a speech about how we will never surrender, and our strength is unmatched, and we will fight to the end, and God bless us.
I am Winston Churchill.
Says we're surrendering.
It's nowhere near
it's
as good
the
as
Churchill
Independence Day.
moment, but not Churchill. So
Not Churchill, not Independence Day.
Okay.
And then there's a giant
What about
fucking...
Pacific Rim?
No.
Is the apocalypse cancelled?
There is then... In the actual cutscene that I totally forgot, there's a giant space battle after that. There's just like hundreds of spaceships just shooting each other above Earth. And the way that you get to the satellite is like you're the only ship that makes it through the defense line.
So the planet is destroyed because of all the debris that crashes.
Would pretty much be. Also, rewatching the cutscene for real, it was super confusing because he's like, "Give me the world or I'll laser it again." And then we just send every ship we have at him. So why didn't he just laser the world again? And be like, "I told you." Like, you shoot the hostage.
Psych, I wanted to fight.
Yeah, it's weird.
So what actually happened then? What if this is not an accurate reading of it?
Oh, dude, like, the bits I remembered are about the first minute of the cutscene, except it isn't them going, "We need a small tactical team." It's, "Fine, all-out war on this satellite," and there's a giant space battle. And there's a Starship Troopers briefing scene with a dude who's like 9 feet tall and has a giant cyber arm. At one point, he punches you and goes, "That's pretty good work you got there," because he's got a cyber arm, but you're all cyber. And they like boister for who's coolest. He makes a joke about you not knowing how to use your suit, and he's like, "Our simulations are very thorough." And Sam gives this guy shit about having a fake arm, and they knife fight for a bit. It's weird.
Okay, sure.
Sam makes a point of talking about DARPA, and that he takes orders from POTUS. Like, cool, you looked at the Wikipedia article for America. It feels really weird. But yeah, that's there's way more in that cutscene that I had forgotten. And I would have been happier with the president going, "Yep, we surrender," and Sam going, "Fuck off, we surrender. I'm going up there myself. I'm going to John McClane this shit." But that's not what happened.
Okay.
So, I mean, to loop back around and wrap this thing up. So, we started with talking about what Vanquish is and what makes it kind of stand out and why I think people really like it. And unless you have any other questions that you want to jump on, I think we can probably get to the point of saying, like, this is not the best way to explain to me how to play this game. And I feel like this is giving us a similar sort of quandary that we had with our previous game as well, with Little Nightmares.
Right.
When like this, in Little Nightmares even more so, we're like, this isn't a bad intro. It just felt like it was a little heavy with also this can happen, also this can happen, also this can happen.
Right. Yep.
But in this case, Vanquish is very concerned that I know what all of my options are, and that I know what all the buttons are, and that I know what all of the mechanics are immediately. And I think it's to its detriment, because I don't really get into the guts of this game until 20 minutes after I start playing it. Now, granted, we're old.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
It is. I mean, I was gonna say, like, granted, we're old now, but if I've played a game for 20 minutes already, I'm probably good. Like, I'm probably good for a break and to go do something else. Which in this case would be me getting to kind of like the first checkpoint and going, all right, and hoping to come back to it later. And I mean, ultimately, this is us, setting standards that the game doesn't have to hold itself up to. It doesn't care. You already bought it. Why should it care what you think about it? Yeah. But for me, I would much rather this game kicked off with shoot these dudes. Here's how you go into slow-mo. Shoot them. Hey, it's way better in slow-mo. Now I need to go over there real quick. Rocket slide over there. Oh, by the way, WASD is how you move if you haven't figured that out yet. Like,
Question for you. Question for you, Steve. Yeah. To me, it sounds like slide and slow-mo are the hooks here, yeah?
They're the big things that make it different from all the other cover-based shooters that were out at the time.
Okay, so seeing as it's cover-based as well, does moving into and out of cover also feel cool?
Yes, I mean you can time it just right so that you're sliding up to something and press E to jump into cover into it immediately. So you can move around very rapidly.
So I would imagine that a very large number of people spent quite a considerable amount of time polishing all of those things to be awesome.
Yeah.
Just let them be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's the sliding around, shooting things in slow-mo, like there's other things that happen less often that are also really cool, which is kind of a shame. Like vaulting over cover puts you into slow motion if you're aiming as well. So you get these cool, like your character one arm vaulting over a wall while slow-mo shooting robots in the head. I mean, like there's really cool stuff that happens, but for the first 8 minutes of this game is a stock standard third-person shooter. Like it kind of feels like I'm being taught the shooting mechanics of Just Cause for the first 8 minutes of this game, right? Like like Just Cause as a third-person shooter isn't especially interesting. It's interesting for all the other things it does, and I don't feel like it's putting its best foot forward in that sense of going, here is the cool shit that you're here for.
Right.
Up front, like get excited. This is what we're going to be doing now.
Alrighty. Well, I don't have any other questions. Aaron, do you have anything?
No, I'm good. Let's wrap this thing up.
10-minute check then, Steve.
So does the game tell me what it is? I mean, eventually, yes. It kind of tells me more about areas than I think it needs to in some cases, like giving me so much information about weapons and making me try so many of them. It doesn't seem necessary at this point, but in terms of me knowing what's going to happen, I have a very thorough, potentially very thorough observation of what this game will do. I'm making sure not to say understanding, because none of this makes sure that I understand what these things do or why I would do them.
Right.
But in the terms of like a bad fighting game tutorial, it has told me a lot of the things that are in this game. Told me the buttons that they are and what will happen when I press them. So I get that. And at the end of this section, I get a really good sense of what the game's style is just out of this 10 minutes in that cutscene. Like it's dripping with style, whether you like the style or not. Is, that's up to you, but you know what you're in for.
Right.
But it's only really that tiny, like 30 seconds out of that tutorial that you actually get an understanding of what the game itself will be. Right. Which will be you acrobating your way around an arena, trying to manage your slow-mo amount so that you don't go into cooldown, and pulling off cool headshots on robots. In terms of how to play... I mean, it sounds cool, right? And how to play, I mean, that's kind of... Again, I think there's a distinction to be made between do I understand what I should be doing when, and do I know what the buttons are? But it's fairly good. Like the other than the things we talked about of it feeling like it's taught me that shotguns are useless. Other than that area, I feel like it's given me a good understanding of what I need things for, even if I haven't used them in the context I should use them in yet.
Okay.
Yeah, beyond those one or two incidental inquiries, that it seemed like it was crucial information that it wasn't delivering to you in game as well.
Yeah. With the big standout weird one there being if you have full ammo and you pick up more ammo, the gun gets better. Like it's such a anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that brings us to a close.
Except for the plugs, Steve.
Except for the plugs.
Plug.
So I get to talk more, so hopefully you weren't sick of hearing me. So if you've enjoyed this and you'd like to let us know about it, we'd love to hear from you. You can either email us, contact@thefirst10minutes.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Instagram. I remembered it.
Yes. Yay, Instagram.
Yay. Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon. In all of those places, we are the first 10 minutes.
Nice. We are consistent.
And you are welcome and encouraged to reach out and let us know what you thought about this episode or any others, or if you have any questions for us or you want to suggest things, feel free. Twitter is the main way where we'll communicate to you about what we're doing, about what we're playing. It's also where we're putting the polls of what you'd like us to play or do for our upcoming episodes. So keep an eye there. And if you can, please share, retweet, etc. to get other people involved as well.
Please recommend to a friend.
Yeah, and if you think you have a friend who would enjoy it, or an enemy that would not, or even if you have a friend that you think wouldn't care, but you appreciate what we do, make them listen. Makes the viewer numbers go up. It looks good. Makes us feel better when the numbers go up.
Yay.
It's like a really poorly developed or poorly designed clicker. Our numbers go up, but like that curve.
Yeah.
Nice. And so that's us. That's us for another week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something.
I hope that all of our separate audio recordings line up correctly, and it doesn't sound weird.
Hope Steve got way better at Audition. Yeah.
Should we let our audience know where they can find us personally?
Sure. I'm easy. I'm Steve Helliwell. You can find me at stevehelliwell.com or @_Steve Helliwell on Twitter.
So you can find me, if you want to talk to me personally, you can find me on Twitter @PoisonTastyFish. That's PoisonTastyFish. If you would like to engage with my criticism half, you can find me @PushingB on Twitter for pushing buttons. Similarly, you can also just go to pushingb.com.
And if you'd like to get in touch with me, Tony, I am @Cullenskald on Twitter. That's KALINSKALD. I think that's it. Are we done?
Well, I think we're done.
This reliance on non-NBN delayed visual signals is really weirding me out.
So, excuse me. We can wrap. We'll see you again soon.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much for listening, and we'll catch you again next time.
Bye.
Bye.